104 group chat edition today. Nate Spurlin down there, also known as Old Milk. I think that's
Hello,
a hat.
everybody. It is a hat, so you can purchase
And
it on oldmilk.co. It's a quick little plug.
his co-host on the Cat podcast. Great to have them here from that. You can go subscribe to that. Link in the bio.
Yeah.
And they review music pretty much every week over there. So I was thrilled to have them on the last possible day to say Happy New Year's, I think, or maybe one day later, January 5th. And we're going to talk about the best songs, best moments, maybe mixing in, because obviously music moments go together, of 2022. I listened to you guys' episode of your favorite songs and albums and all the rest over there.
What was the one point that either me or Taylor made that you disagreed with most?
I'd say snubbing West Side Gun's 10. Not even mentioning it. And doing a whole DJ drama section without mentioning that the West Side Gun did a DJ drama album.
Did he?
Yes, that's what 10 was.
I didn't even.
No, I knew that. I knew that.
I gotta be honest. I didn't care. I'm sorry. Sorry, Bob.
This is terrible. All right. So I took a look at the Billboard end of the year. I obviously got to meet West Side Gun last year, which was one of my favorite moments of 2022.
I was so happy for you. That was one of my favorite moments too. Just as a friend.
Honestly, yeah, same for real. That was great.
It was after the Celtics game, and I went up to him. I went around the backside where he was sitting there on the baseline. He was still meeting with some people, so he comes up, walking toward the tunnel, and I go, "Fly God!" He goes, "What's going on?" And I'm like, so I go up to him. So I'm like, "Man, the best thing you ever did was put Stove God on." And he goes, "Stove, he's right over here." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And Stove God Cooks comes walking over, and I got to chat with him for a minute while West Side walked away. Then we got a picture. That was awesome. But yeah, that was one of my favorite albums of the year. I don't know why you guys snubbed it.
I can tell you why.
Why is that?
Because it's not good.
Did you listen?
It's not relevant. It's not relevant.
It's group. Don't lie. It's group chat politics.
No, I mean it's legitimately not
for this purpose. We did it so that we could come on here and he could be like, "Come on!" We'd be like,
Taylor gave away the whole plan. But no, like really, like it's not relevant. It's just like there's like a certain niche people who love that type of music, and all power to you guys. But for the majority of people who listen to hip hop, I don't think that they care about West Side Gun, and even if they do, I don't think they're tuning into West Side Gun's music, and the numbers show that.
Maybe in sales, I didn't see him up there on the sales list, and it didn't get a lot of promotion. But you look at the features, I think you got Busta Rhymes, you got A$AP Rocky, you got DJ Drama, as I talked about. There's real interest here in what what West Side's doing, rather. And of course, I think the features got a lot of momentum this year too. I'm not even gonna hype up Stove God because I can do that any day on here. But Rome Streets, I think, got a lot of momentum this year, Taylor.
Yeah, his album was good, and I think the problem, it's not a problem with Griselda, because like I like their music a lot. I listen to everything they put out. I just think with how big the genre is at this point, you have a lot of people like Nate and I talked about this, but I saw so many tweets at the end of this year that were like every rapper, every hip hop song is just the same 5 artists, like Drake, Future, Lil Baby, Gunna, Young Thug. You know what I mean? It's a combination of those people on some beat that you've heard something similar before. But I think that's where you end up with the conversations about relevancy and numbers and all that, because like someone like Rome Streets, if you tune into his album, like he's obviously an incredibly talented rapper and he has something to say. And I think what Griselda does best maybe is bring you back to a time when like you got like a window into these artists' lives in a place that you may have never been before, you may have never seen before. So it's like someone like Boldy James like gives a whole side of Detroit that like his experience in Detroit, and it's not so much like it's not every song isn't about like like going to I can't even like say the brand that I want to because it's canceled, but it's like what I mean. It's like there is like it's so much now is like based around like wearing these brands and like going to Miami Beach, right? It feels like every song like has like an element of that. Every song that really pops, and you could almost call that like the Khaled effect over the last couple of years. But I don't know. I think Rome Streets is a perfect example of someone who's just really rapping, and if that's your thing, that's a perfect album for you. And you and I have talked about it before. I think West Side Gun is the perfect executive producer. I think the way he puts projects together, like I would like to see him like EP a project for Boldy to set up the environment.
Well, he's
got
to do Stove God first,
right? And so yeah, I think that like 10 was good. I listened to it, and I think that West Side Gun, I disagree with Nate about the relevancy within hip hop, but I think when you expand the conversation to encompass everything that hip hop is today, then there's definitely some validity to that. But I think 10 was good. I thought Rome Street's album was good, and I think there was definitely an element of group chat politics that went into leaving 10 off.
No, I mean, for me, and I talked about this on the Absol episode that we did, Taylor. Like for me, there's just a difference between rappers and lyricists, and I feel like most of what Griselda raps about, I can get that from like Future or Young Thug, or like the rappers who actually, let me not say that, who have like more musical talent than just rapping. So it's way more impressive to me to listen to someone like Future who can give me the same content that West Side Gun or I love Benny the Butcher. Who's the other one? Conway the Machine.
Conway.
Like who could give me the same type of material, but just have it in so many different types of ways. That's just way more impressive to me than just someone who's just rapping over and over again about the same things over and over again. Like, and even then, like, not to say that I don't like rap. I love rap. Like, I love the Vince Staples album. I love the Absol album. Obviously, I love Lupe Fiasco. But even with that, it's like you're giving me something to take away from and think on. And like I can listen to it over and over and over again, and there's a new thought that comes through. Versus, okay, you did this, you did this, you did this. Okay, cool. That's it. That's it.
Why not even review it? Even if you reviewed it and said this is the worst album of the year,
well,
I would have been
like,
all right.
We talked about this on the end of the year episode too. Some of them didn't get reviewed just because like scheduling.
Timing.
It's like,
that's true.
Yeah, we're going along and we're messing each other on Thursday or Friday, and it's like this weekend it's not going to work out. And then we're like, all right, Monday or Tuesday, and then if I remember correctly, I think I had some employment changes right when 10 came out, so I think I was probably a little like, I'm good off this right now.
Yeah. Nate, what was your favorite album of the year?
Are we talking hip hop or are we talking rap?
Anything.
Anything. I gotta say, Rod Wave, Beautiful Mind. I'm still listening to it. That again, like he's giving me the same. Well, not really. Like he's really singing more about like love and stuff like that. But he does have moments where he talks about like the same things that Griselda talks about, and it's like in a different way where it's more. It's just something that nobody else can do. Beautiful Mind was amazing. On the rap side, I have to give it to Vince Staples, Ramona Park Broke My Heart, one of the best albums of the year. Listened to it probably 2 days ago in 2023, and it's like almost about to be a year old. Shout out to Saba as well. That was a really good album. Absol's album probably would have been album of the year last year if it came out earlier. Yeah, that's all the shout outs I have off the top of my head.
Vince Staples' album, this is the third one in a row for me. It just grows on you as time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you just hear more layers to it. I love I guess this one sort of had more of kind of like a mainstream sound to it, like sort of pop sounds. Player Ways, that to me sounds like a Drake song, but it's his own kind of spin on it, and it ended up being one of my favorite songs on the album. Obviously, you got Lemonade on there. When Sparks Fly is sort of like an old, like Common style, like, double meaning track, but it plays really well. I think a million artists have done that, but he did it well. Magic, I think that song's actually from 2021, right? But it comes on this album, and it's just awesome. And it's a quick album, 41 minutes, but it feels longer. Feels like pretty much every song on here is good. And
Yeah,
strong features too. That little baby feature was one of the best features
Very
of the
good.
year, I think.
Also, I
that's
want
that's
to.
my number one song of the year. That's my number one rap song of the year is East Point Prayer.
East Point Prayer.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about the use of interludes as well on the album. Like they are really well placed. They add to the album. Like there's just a general theme going on throughout the album from track 1 to track, I don't know, I'm just pulling a number out, like 14 or whatever. If that's correct, I'm gonna buy myself a soda. But
It was.
like regardless, there's just like a overall theme to it, and just having the interludes that add to it. Like every single song builds off the last song. Every single track builds off the last track. And because of that, it's just such a cohesive project that, once again, going back to my points like 2-3 minutes ago, it builds and it gives you something else to like. It always gives you something more to take away from the album, and because of that, it has to be placed on the pedestal that it is. And I think all three of us can agree that it deserves to be there.
Yeah, and you put it together with the tape from last year, Vince Staples. Like you have two projects that go perfectly together, and the thing that I've liked the most about these two projects is it almost feels like a key that you can go back and unlock his old albums to like pull the stuff where it's like he's always been, and we've talked about this, endlessly, whether it's in the group chat or on the cap. It's like the stuff that he's been talking about in these last two albums, the stuff he's always been talking about, but now he's giving it to us in a more like plain way where it's easier to understand, and it's more like it's less noisy. The instrumentals are different. You have less of like the old like stereotype, or not stereotype, but the old feeling around Vince Staples, which was like he's rapping on like EDM beats. So I think like especially for FM, these last two projects feel like kind of like a key to go back and like unlock those and be like, all right, like let me like parse through all the sounds, because it's really easy, and it's really like awesome to listen to them as complete pieces of music where it's all of the bells and whistles. But I feel like these two projects have made it easier for me to go back and find these same types of raps, which are my favorite types of raps, within those projects.
Brilliant production, and I think what's underrated on here, and this is different than his last album, and I'm looking through it, he sings every hook on this album, right? Every hook, pretty much every hook on this album is him, right?
Does Ty Dolla $ign have the hook on? No,
They sort of play off each other, but Vince
yeah,
does the hook there.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
And they're catchy too. You say the Rose Street one's great.
Oh, I love the Rose Street. The Rose Street one. Rose Street is the best song on the album, in my opinion. I think it's the best song on the album.
Player Ways, like I said, that's almost like a Drake like hook there with that kind of production on there. Lemonade, super catchy. When Sparks Fly, again, great writing. This is, if you want to say this is the best rap album this year, I'm not going to argue with you. So we're in agreement for once.
I guess we have to change the topic to argue about something else.
So that brings in Freddie.
Oh. All right. Give it to me, Bobby.
Oh, there we go. I'm back. Freddie. So separately enjoyable. I liked it, but wasn't all I expected. So I'll hand it to you. Not one of my favorite albums of the year, but I can still go back through this album, and it has grown on me over time. I think there's some really strong storytelling on here, which still brings me back to one of your criticisms of him, Nate, that he's not a strong storyteller. I can't disagree with that more. I mean, talking about his
no, he doesn't say he's not a strong storyteller. He says his stories are fake.
His stories are which I also have a problem with.
No, we've already gotten to the bottom of this. I'll send you all the YouTube videos, Bobby. I've created a file of all this evidence against Fable Gibbs. Here, before Nate goes, because I feel like he'll have a stronger opinion on this than me. This was a rare project where the first 2 weeks, I was listening to it every single day, playing it all the time. And this is a rare occurrence where an album like loses steam with me, because normally albums grow on me. Like if I listen to an album a couple times to review it, we're going to talk about it, I know pretty quickly if I'm not going to go back to it. even if I like it, I know it's just like not for me. It's like, yeah, it's like this is a good product, but I'm not going back. This one, I was like, oh, I love this. Like I like the interludes. I like
The production's unbelievable. You can't knock that at all.
No, you can't. And so I was like, oh, this one will stick with me. And it just didn't. Like Dark Hearted, I go back to a lot. I think the best Freddie Gibbs song that came out in the last 2 years was Black Illuminati with Jadakiss, and it didn't even make this album.
Yep.
So
I made the deluxe.
Oh, it did.
Is it
Okay,
deluxe?
because that's my favorite. That's my favorite Freddie song of the last 2 years, and it wasn't on here. And yeah, so this album kind of like grew backwards on me, where I really really loved it in the beginning. I think it's good, but I kind of miss just Freddie working with one producer. I think that's when he's at his best, and I think that unlocks a level of like storytelling and cinematic, cinematic artistry within Freddie Gibbs. You look at the projects with Madlib, you look at the project with Elk. I think that really unlocks him when he locks in with a single producer. It was cool to hear a lot of these people. I mean, you had prolific names on here, but yeah, this one started off really hot with me and then kind of fizzled out as time went on.
I think it's on par with what I expect from Freddie. I expect it to be good. See, Bobby, the friction on Freddie between me and you comes when you start saying that he's the best rapper alive.
Yeah.
And when you start hyperbolizing.
And I think he flashes that at moments on here.
No,
it's
he
not
doesn't.
at every point. There's some songs where he just sort of lays back and relaxes. And a couple of the early songs on here are that way. Number one, man, the intro. You got these big booming horns. You got like this sort of like victory lap he can be taking on the track, and he just sort of jogs through it.
I mean,
I can't put it any other way.
He's a good rapper.
They said it couldn't be done.
He is deserving of the fans that he has. I understand why people like his music. Again, it's just the hyperbole of Freddie Gibbs is the best rapper alive, and Freddie Gibbs is better than everyone, and he has classics and stuff like that. Like when you like, it's just that none of that is true.
He's hilarious though. There's a lot of funny lines on here too.
We can have the classic conversation, and I know that there's maybe some plans to have regular group chat conversations similar to this, but the classic conversation is another one for another day. But I thought this one, based on the production list alone, was headed for that. And out of all the projects that I would put in the conversation for that, it's probably like fourth. Out of the 4 albums that stand out for Freddie, right? I think this one is like the farthest away from a classic out of this, Bandana, Pinata, and Alfredo.
Love the features, love the production, love some of the funny moments. The interludes, I think, didn't really carry it anywhere.
Yeah, I didn't like the Jeff Ross interlude at all. That was
they didn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
and I guess
no one likes Jeff Ross.
I will say that I appreciate the attempt to make something cohesive, and I will never it should be applauded because cohesiveness in today's landscape is very rare in the first place, and it should always be applauded when an artist does try to make something cohesive. So I applaud Freddie for that, but I do think that this album, with all the hype that it was getting amongst he has this producer on it, and he has these features or whatever, I do think that it should have been baking a little bit more. It kind of just didn't come full circle the way that most cohesive albums that I enjoy do.
I'm glad we've had a little time to sit on JID. This record was awesome in terms of performance, lyrics. I think cohesiveness, even if we're comparing it to that Freddie album, was a lot stronger here. Although I think all 3 of us came away from that one saying something's missing here, like just something. And I still haven't really gotten to what that is, but as I've listened to it more and more, it's gotten better and better. And it's probably right up there with Vince's record in terms of better rap albums this year. And Nate's shaking his head.
It's not. So I think the issue with this one is cohesion as well.
Really?
I said it on the Nas review that we did that everybody hated. I understand JID is one of the best rappers we have. I don't care about him proving that he can rap. We all know that he can rap. What can you do with it? And with that album, what was it called? The Forever Story, I believe.
Forever Story, yeah.
Okay, so on the Forever Story, there just wasn't a storyline throughout each of the songs. All the songs, like the track listing, kind of felt random. Like there was even like on Radar, for example, there's like 3 different beats on there, and that's fine. But what is that really building to?
What about
And
Crack Sandwich
I
to
enjoyed that song as well.
Them to System? Like some of the family talk throughout the album.
Is Brother Them one of those songs had Lil Durk on it?
Yeah, Brother Them.
I never want to hear Lil Durk on a beat that doesn't have 808 again. Never. That was terrible placement. Just terrible. Because like if you're gonna have Lil Durk on it, make sure he raps. Then I could see the vision behind that. But you have Lil Durk on an album that on a beat that has no 808, has no percussions at all, and he's singing on it, and it's like this is just such a fish out of water experience for everyone involved that it just didn't make any sense. And I think that there's just a lot of things there that didn't make any sense. Even like I understand that 2007 was supposed to be like the pinnacle song, but it wasn't there. Like
I think it got added back, right?
It did get added back, but you could have waited. Like you didn't have to rush it out. Like that also signals.
You know what? Looking
that
back on it, I do agree with you on that. Yeah, because I think once we heard this album, the Lauder 2 didn't really. That's probably what was missing was the intro that rounded it all out, or the outro that rounded it all out.
Yeah. So you basically put out an incomplete project, and I can't say that an incomplete project is on the same level of Vince Staples, which is as far as 2022 goes in rap, is perfect.
Yeah.
Where are you on this one, Taylor?
I think this was one where it's like I think Nate put it well, where it's like he is one of the most impressive rappers we have right now, and no one doubts that. And if you're going into this project just looking for that, then you're gonna come away with, you'll be happy with it. And that's not to say I wasn't happy with it, because it is an enjoyable listen. And I'm not the biggest Jid fan in the world. Like it's not like I just have never really like spent a ton of time with his music, but in doing prep for our episode and listening to the project, I think the biggest thing to me was just like I don't want to hear a beat switch on every single song. It's like this like post sicko mode era where everyone's like, oh my god,
the rap version of Astroworld.
Yeah, do you hear that beat switch? And it's like that's great and all, but like sometimes I just want to hear like what makes Vince's project perfect is every song is itself. And then you have the interludes, which tie everything together. I thought Cody Blue 31 off JID's project was one of the better songs of the year. But yeah, it just didn't have a ton of staying power with me, despite it being a good piece of work and despite it being like a lot of good raps. There's no way to deny that. It's just like, I guess it wasn't for me.
Yeah, I will say that I was impressed with JID's performance on the Dreamville D-Day tape. And I was impressed with his performance on the Spillage Village album that came out like 2 years ago at this point.
And that's what we're talking about here is no one is questioning his performance abilities and rapping abilities and writing abilities. I mean, those are almost unmatched across hip hop right now. But can he put together an album that really hits and resonates? And through 3, this was the closest. So he's getting there, and he's still young and all that. But I still think there's another step for him to take there. But again, I have a hard time parsing and nitpicking this one. It's just great across the board. So maybe he'll just be another guy in this era where there's a million artists who some people love and rock with, but isn't going to break through and make hits, which, surround sound, maybe that one breaks through out of this one. I think that was probably
it did. It did. That was a very, very good song. The only issue I have with that song is I actually wanted to hear the Baby Tate verse. Like she has like four lines and it cuts off. And I wanted to hear it.
There's a disservice to her too.
I agree. But she's still getting paid from it though. So I'm sure she's not that mad. But I think one way that JID could probably take a next step is doing features outside of the Dreamville bubble. Try to like you already got a Lil Durk feature. Maybe that's a swap. So on Lil Durk's next album, maybe we get a JID feature on a Lil Durk album. That would be something that would help jettison him to the next tier.
We're the honorable mention. There's only one we're going to hit on before we get out of here, but SZA, loved it. Metro Boomin, I know you guys reviewed as well.
Perfect.
Well worth your time. Kid Cudi, I'll give a shout out to. Solid album. Ari Lennox came through. We're talking about Dreamville with a very good album. Rock Marciano and Alchemist made an enjoyable album. Maybe not one of the better ones of the year, but still enjoyable. I think you can say the same for Pusha T's this year.
I don't And maybe Bobby, you could shed some light on this. Explain to me how people are saying that this is the album of the year.
It's just something he's repeated as a mantra, and it is hit, and it got him a Grammy nomination, which I think is pretty impressive. I remember going to his
he
show,
beat
and
Drake. He
DJ
beat Drake in a
Khaled.
rap beef 4 years ago. That's what happened.
DJ Khaled got a Grammy nomination. I think we could all agree
God
that.
did?
Yeah, like that was such a bad album. Like like the Grammys are a joke now. Honestly,
Maybe if you just yell something now, you'll get a Grammy nomination.
Then
Album of the year. It worked.
I gotta
Freddie
say,
a couple
DJ
years
Drama.
ago.
Like if that's the thing, like if you're just yelling on whatever, like DJ Drama deserves like 3 Grammy nominations like last year.
Well, did he sneak in with one of the albums he did this year?
No,
I don't
think
have
he
the
did.
nominations in front.
But
We'll do
I think
a Grammy
that
show.
I will say that the DDA tape was better than God did. The Ma Got a Family with Young Boy and DJ Drama was better than God did. And I'm forgetting one from DJ Drama.
10 was better than God did.
Yes. I mean, God
Y'all
did
got it. I'll take
sucks.
it. Yeah.
Even the SZA,
You don't-
like, how do you
you
have a
don't
SZA
have-
feature and it doesn't turn out well? With
you
Future on the
don't
track too.
Have a 8-minute track as track 2. I don't care who is on it. I don't.
No,
I got
and the
nominated,
thing
of
is,
course.
I don't care.
Jay-Z had better verses. Like I don't know why that was the one that got hyped up like that. Like everyone
Yeah.
was like, "This is the best Jay-Z." People were saying it was the best Jay-Z verse ever,
Jay-Z
which is insane.
literally doesn't have to put any I'm sure he does, but Jay-Z literally doesn't have to put any effort in anything anymore. Like I'm pretty sure he just come on the mic and be like, and people will be like, "Wow, that's amazing. That's the best thing I ever heard." And it's like, I get
What's
it.
crazy
He's
is he's
one of the
still
best
putting
rappers
out
of all time.
when he puts his mind to it, he still can put out crazy verses. Like the
for
song
sure.
on Certified Lover Boy from the year before, it's crazy. But Bobby, before we get out of here, we want to talk all this Griselda talk, all this whatever. The best artist on Griselda put out 4 tapes last year. He's got another one coming with Jay Dilla. Boldy James is the best rapper alive.
Wow,
you
that's
need to
exciting.
go through everything. Through everything, so then we don't have to talk about West Side Gun anymore. We can talk about Benny forever.
He's retiring anyway.
Yeah, sure.
Apparently.
Stove God Cooks. Yeah, he said he's retiring. Then he's like, all right, but actually, I have like 7 projects I need to get to before then. And it's like, all right.
Do you guys have?
Give me the box set.
Do you guys have any interest in the Meek Mill 4 albums that he's apparently going to drop this year?
Sadly, no. I mean, my thought's always been on Meek that he had the potential to be the best rapper ever, and instead he's just kind of waited in a lot of BS for a while now. Although Championships, looking back on that 4 years later, excellent album and kind of fit
a really,
how
really
exciting
good
it was.
Yeah, like he has a
I mean, he's one of the best rappers ever.
Wins and losses, obviously Dreams and Nightmares. The only album that in his discography that I don't really like as much is the last one was like he was on auto tune for like every song, and he said it was the first time that he made an album while smoking weed. So I guess do you, bro? But what was the one with in the span of the Drake beef? Dreams Worth More Than Money.
Don't do that.
I didn't like that one as much.
Well,
I didn't like that one as much. I think Championships and Wins and Losses are better.
Jump Out to Face for Future is arguably the best song of that year. That album is great. Cold Hearted with Diddy's great. Rico's great. Yeah, Rico's the song that started the beef.
I'd say Rico's the best song on the whole album.
That was
Jump Out to Face for Future is better.
I'll probably have to re-listen again.
And that's what sent Drake into a tailspin career-wise because he lost the Ghostwriters.
Oh yeah, that's been a tailspin career-wise.
It wasn't
from
a
2015
tailspin.
to 22. That's the tailspin.
Drake was in that time span. Drake was also on the level of being able to just breathe on the mic, and everyone is like, "This is amazing."
That's still what's happening. You know how much staying power, honestly, Nevermind had this year, and it was terrible.
The tailspin, that was the best year of his career.
Honestly, Nevermind.
But her loss.
Her loss was solid.
From a strictly rap standpoint, that year was the best year of his career. If you're reading this is too late, 2015. Yeah. If you're reading this is too late, then he killed the Meek Mill beef. Whatever. And then he came out with What a Time in October.
He did.
Yeah. So he had two of his best rapping projects. I don't care what anyone says about What a Time. Like we can talk about that, whatever, in 2 years when we do the 10-year, anniversary of that. But
my God. We're getting
come
old.
on. If you're reading this, is the kill the beef throughout the summer, and then What a Time, and Hotline Bling was that year too.
Yeah.
I know when the Hotline Bling.
But I will say in 2015 he wasn't hotter than Fetty Wap.
Can we squeeze in Kendrick before we get out of here?
Yes,
Because
we
he
can.
obviously did release this year. Some people will call it the album of the year. I think there's elements of it that are really impressive. I think him making an album for himself was something that I don't think a lot of people thought about in terms of him being able to check things off the box. And it had sort of mixed reactions. And it's not a record I'm going to go back to and listen a ton, but there really are moments on here that are heartfelt, that are strongly produced. And even the intro, I was saying the other day on Twitter, a lot of people call out different tracks as their favorite off this one. I never see anyone calling the intro out, but that's about as strong and emotionally performed as any on here.
Yeah, I don't think any of the critiques have anything to do with the actual art of it. I think it's just a matter of how he chose to use, for example, how he chose to use Kodak, some words that he may have used on certain songs. For me, my biggest critique is that it just covers too many topics. Like, for example, I believe on one of the songs he's talking about the journey between him learning about I believe his aunt being transgender.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah,
the last 4
like,
tracks there is just
yeah,
jumping
and I think
across
that
massive
that's
topics.
it's Kendrick. Like, he does a really good job of tying a nice bow on it and putting it in its box for the album. But I do think that, like, that topic and many other topics on the album would have been better served as just being full albums. And because of that, it kind of feels like he's trying to squish like 4 or 5 albums into one album, and he does an amazing job of it. But at the same time, it's just so dense that you just
I
have to
mean,
be in
it's 2
such like a
albums.
yeah, like, okay, yeah, 2 albums. So, but still, it's just not. I don't think there's enough real estate time wise for him to really, really dig deep into these issues or these I guess these topics that he's talking about. And I think that's the main criticism for me, at least.
Yeah, I didn't come away loving the single tracks, if you want to call them that. Like Die Hard, I guess that got nominated in the melodic category. That's definitely not one of the more like melodic hip hop tracks that I'm remembering this year. N95, I don't think stacks up with some of his more hard hitting tracks when you think of like DNAs and those types.
It
And
does. It does.
Silent Hill, I know you'll probably
Amazing.
enjoy that one.
Amazing.
It's
From
just not for me.
Savior to Savior interlude to Silent Hill, or is it Silent Hill to Savior interlude to Savior?
Silent
Those 3
Hill to
tracks are
Savior,
together.
yeah.
Okay, so those 3 tracks together is the best run on the album, and I think that it competes with any other run on any other album. Like, that is just amazing.
Where you at on this one, Taylor?
I think Kendrick Lamar is arguably the best hip hop artist of this generation.
Ever.
Yeah, no, ever for sure. But in terms of breaking it down into a smaller piece of way to contextualize it, and I think this album is a perfect example of where he's at artistically and creatively, and holding on to a spirit of music, not just rap music, not just hip hop, but art in general, of making it for, like you said, Bob, making it for yourself and making it real. And I think I saw No Name on Twitter talking about this yesterday, where people want these like super heartfelt albums and they want these like deep projects or whatever, but they want one every single year. And it's like, I think that Kendrick sticking to what he knows and taking the time he needed to make a project like this is just it's the perfect picture of who he is and what he means to the genre and music in general. Because you look at the big 3 and it's like J. Cole had an album 2 years ago now where he's kind of just showing that he's like an incredible, right, that he's just an incredible rapper, which he is obviously. And
yeah,
he went through his couple project era where everything was very, very like cerebral, everything was super, you know what I mean, like on another level. And then you have Drake, who's just the pop star out of the 3, and that's fine. Like, he is the one who puts all the music out. He's the one who, keeps it moving. And then Kendrick is just, he's on another level artistically, creatively. He's obviously like one of the best rappers ever. So while this album, I haven't returned to it a lot, I think it serves almost more as like this piece of art to be held in a certain esteem that some other projects don't live up to. And that's not the fault of other projects or other artists. Exactly.
It was for him.
Like he's Kendrick Lamar, and there's only one, and
he earned the right to make an album like that. And I think every great artist has. He had just kind of neglected it. And I think
some great artists put out 4 tapes every year.
Yes.
I'm driving the Boldy narrative all 2023.
You're the bus driver.
227 Blockworks.
Before we get out of here, I do want to.
Concrete's where we at.
I put out my top 10, so I might as well share them before we get out of here. And it does hit a lot of the bases we hit. Peppa's West Side Gun, Black Star coming back this year. I heard they had an album as well this year that I got to listen to. Number 10, Johnny P's Caddy. I think we'll all agree that was one of the better songs.
That's a good song. Good song.
Benny and Cole, two of the best, just going back and forth. Sid had a nice EP this year. I'm a big fan of her of Odd Future fame. Out Loud with Kalani was really good. Ari Lennox's Bitter off her EP before the actual album came out, ASL, was just one of her more brilliant performances. Rosalia, I love, personal favorite from Spain. Her collab with The Weeknd was awesome. La Fama. Anderson .Paak's group of jazz performers, Domi and JD Beck, put out a really good song with Snoop Dogg and Busta Rhymes, Pilot, with a nice, smooth, low-key beat that was super enjoyable to listen to. Dance Now, Jid and Kenny Mason. Love that track. We're talking about ones that stay with me off there. One of my favorite Jid songs ever, really. Here We Go Again. Weekend was my favorite album of the year. I guess I might as well throw in at the end of the show here with Tyler. Heart Part 5, Kendrick.
Good song.
Brilliant performance, brilliant video. We don't talk a lot about videos anymore either, and he was able to make us do that this year. And Saba Fearmonger, which might have come out in 2021, but I'll still throw it on there for its appearance on a really good album, as Nate mentioned there.
Yeah.
He's Taylor McCloud. He's Nate Spurlin. They host the Cap just about every week, and we'll see what albums are going to come out in 2023. We did want to come back here, though, before the New Year's week expires and go through some of our favorites here. You can subscribe to Dome Theory. We'll have a lot more group chat editions coming, talking about everything. And you can get this, as I said, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube here. I think we'll start moving a lot of our basketball discussions over the Garden Report in terms of guests around the NBA. We got Celtics Mavericks tonight coming up on post-game. We forgot this one. Glad that got shouted out. Bad Habit, somehow not a top 10 song this year.
I mean, people don't know the words to it aside from
it got stolen. It got stolen before we could sing with it.
It's a good song, but there's I was told there's a video of Steve
the
Lacy
freaking TikTok shit,
and
nobody
knows the song aside from I Wish I Knew You Wanted to Be. That's the only words that people know.
This is the TikTok-ification of music. You get your 10-second snippet, and that's all that matters.
Bobby coined the word. That's a
21. Can you do something?
Did that get taken over on TikTok too?
Yeah.
All right.
More not just TikTok, everywhere.
Dome Theory 104. Go get it. Subscribe. All the rest.
Strictly tomorrow. Strictly tomorrow. Go Miami Heat. Just only for tomorrow.
Never.
They play the Sun.